Hi, Eric.
Hi, you must be Holly.
Nice to, yes, nice to meet you.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm just at home this evening getting ready for my interview with you.
Awesome. So I'm Holly Breedeman. I'm the secondary principal here at Achieve Shaman International School. This is going to be a little bit of a shorter interview, just kind of an initial get to see if you feel like you're a good fit for the school,
Okay.
if we also feel like the school's a good fit for you, and talk about kind of what we're looking for, a little bit of history about the school so that if you were hired, you don't come in with an idea of what you're getting into. I want to be very transparent about what we're looking for and what our school is all about.
Okay, great.
If we both feel like we are good fits for each other, then we would move forward with a second interview with the head of school.
Okay.
Okay. So we opened our school in 2021 in the middle of COVID. So we are still a startup school. Um, we have Chinese nationals that hold other passports. We are an international school, but most of our students are Chinese nationals that hold other passports. So they're coming from local schools, bilingual schools. Their English levels are either non existent or very low for those students that are not transferring in from other international schools or from foreign countries. Um, so we do have some students that are Korean, some that are Japanese. Trying to think if I have any other student, any other languages. I don't think I do at this point. We are a very small school. We have 212 students from ECC up to grade 12. Of those students, 76 of them are secondary students, and of those students, 24 are high school students. So very, very low student population, which means our class sizes are pretty small, which means that you're able to differentiate a little bit better in class. For our English program, we level our students in English, so we don't just put them in grade 6 or 7 or 8. We level them based on assessment data and kind of where they fall. We also this year started an English immersion program. So those students only take Chinese and math as regular subjects. The rest of the day, they're either in an EAL class or an English class. So that's the position that we're looking to fill right now. My EAL teacher has 21 kids in her class, which for an EAL class does not work. It's way too many students. So we're looking to hire a second person that we can split that class, and that person can take on some of her. So basically, that's her English class. So we want to split that class and then add someone to help support with more of our EAL. So those students don't go to science or social studies or any electives, so no PE. The idea is hit them as hard as we can with English, put them in a fully English environment as much as we can. We do use translanguaging, so there is some translation, but we do our best to only speak English in those classes. And we have a lot of different resources that we use to help them learn English. So we use Duolingo, IXL. We just started Accelerated Reader. Not sure if you're familiar with that program, but it's a system that allows us to assess their reading levels, and then it gives them their ZPD, gives them their Lexile levels, and then it has online books, but it also has offline books that they can read the book and take a quiz. They earn points, and obviously, if they're taking quizzes that say it's at their Lexile level and they're not being successful, then we reevaluate. Are they not actually reading the book? Is this level too hard for them? So the idea is hit them with as many things as we can in those classes so that we can move them out of that English immersion program into our next level of English, which is called English 1B, with less EAL classes, getting back into science, getting back into social studies, and gradually move them out of the program until they've demonstrated that they no longer need EAL support. So we have assessments for reading comprehension, Dolch words, speaking and listening, writing, and I feel like I'm missing something vocabulary. I don't remember. But we kind of have come up with here are all the things that students need to do to get out of English immersion and move back into regular classrooms. We're doing that gradually. So some of our students have already moved back to social studies. As they continue to show progress, they'll move back into science, and then after that, back into their elective classes. So that was a lot of information.
Yeah.
um, so far, do you have questions about the role or the school?
Uh, yeah, I guess I have quite a few questions. I don't even really know where to start, to be honest. I just want to
Okay.
know more about. You've told me a little bit about the role. It's basically, I would be splitting the class with another teacher, and we're teaching them ESL on that level. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay, all right. Um, I've I'm just kind of getting introduced to schools in China, so
Okay.
it's new territory for me. But I've been in ESL for about 20 years or so.
Right.
Um, I guess I'm kind of familiar about other benefits that the school has to offer. I'm guessing that's going to be discussed later, but what about, I hear a lot about, extracurricular activities are really important in China, and I wondered if you wanted to know something that I can offer, or what you're looking for in that department, because I'm. I guess I don't have as many questions as much as I have more of a conversation. You said we're a short interview, so
Okay.
we'll keep it
Perfect.
short, but feel free
And
to talk to me and discuss these things with
yes,
me.
of course. So, since you've not worked in China, let me give you kind of an overview of what that looks like. I came to China in 2017, worked briefly at a training center in Nanjing, working for Disney. Realized very quickly that that was not a role for an experienced teacher. Loved what I did, got great benefits from working for Disney, and then I actually moved to the UAE for 3 years and worked there as an English and a science teacher before coming back to China. So I'm all about my life outside of school much as I am about my life inside of school, and I want that for my teachers as well. When I lived in Nanjing, there was a blizzard, and I hate the cold and I hate the snow.
Me
So
too.
I realized right away that was not the city for me. When I was looking at other places in China, I did tell my recruiter the only place that I would ever work in China again was Xiamen. And the reason I picked Xiamen is a few reasons. It's an island. So it's got beaches, it's got that climate that I look for. So tropical climate, it does get hot in the summer, it gets very humid, doesn't get too cold in the winter. So I can weather the few days where it's 30 degrees outside or 9 degrees
I'm
Celsius,
used to
whatever that is.
Celsius. You can use Celsius with me, okay?
So yeah, 9 degrees Celsius, and that's
Okay.
not very
No, that's
often. And I
fine.
can
That's
I can
fine.
bundle up and get warm. But for me, I like the warmer climates.
Sure.
Um, and Shaman is a very calm and peaceful and green and outdoor activities kind of city, whereas other cities in China are kind of bustling and crowded, and Shanghai and Beijing, there's a lot of pollution, and those are not the cities for me. I
Okay.
want the calm, I want the peacefulness. I don't go out to, I don't have a nightlife where I'm going out all
I
the
don't go as
time.
much as I used to
Um,
either.
yeah, to meet up with friends. Like I'm not
Sure.
at that point in my life anymore.
Sure.
And I like to be upfront because some people are looking for that. They're looking for that nightlife. They want the hustling and the bustling of a big city. That's not Chaman. It is, again, a very calm place. It's not very crowded.
Just do you know what is the population? Because I didn't look it up.
I think the population is around 5 million,
Okay, it's a
but
good sized city,
that's
but that's small for
it
China,
is.
right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yes,
Sure.
and that's not including, so not most of the people don't live on the island. So
Mm.
there's 6 districts within Xiamen, and kind of most of the districts are off the island, and those
Okay.
bigger districts are off the island. And so the island itself does not feel busy and crowded.
Okay.
Obviously, those peak times when people are leaving work or whatever, there's going to be more foot traffic and more cars, but
There's my
it's still
question, actually.
relatively calm.
How is the commute? Are you living close by to the campus or on the campus, or what are the living accommodations?
So we don't have on-campus living. I live around 3 kilometers away. I take a DD, which is similar to an Uber. Takes me about 7 minutes to get to work. Again, depending on traffic, maybe 10 minutes to get home from work, depends on what time I leave. I have a bike. I ride it sometimes
Okay.
to work. A lot of people have e-bikes or bikes or walk to
That's
work.
that's what I'm
We have the
thinking.
yeah, we have the metro, we have public buses. A lot of
Okay.
people take the public bus.
Great.
Transportation is very easy here. So
Yeah.
we use WeChat for literally everything. So
I'm on it.
uh, yeah. We do everything. So we pay for everything. We pay for rent, utilities, phone, literally everything's done through WeChat. I appreciate that because it is a kind of a one-stop shop. Whatever I
Mm,
need, I can do it in WeChat.
yeah. Um, okay, so getting back to extracurricular activities, I kind of wanted to talk about my background a bit. So,
Yeah.
I have a background in mass communications, mass media, journalism, broadcast media. I also have a degree in business administration. I think for like extracurricular activities, if I were, I'm just, putting it out there,
Of
I'd
course.
love to teach a more advanced class on broadcast media. I'd
Okay.
love to look at. I'm big into gaming. I love like any type of games, board games, video games, any type like that. I do that quite a bit, and I've had a lot of success with that with my students before to kind of um, inspire them to intrinsically want to learn English because
Right.
my short tale is that I when I was teaching at one of my schools in Korea, well, more than one of my schools because I did it in a couple schools. Are you familiar with the game Magic the Gathering?
Yes.
Okay,
I
awesome.
actually, way back in the day, actually dated someone that literally his entire life was Magic the Gathering, which
And it didn't
ultimately
work
ended the
out.
relationship.
Okay, anyway.
Uh,
There's a line. Anyway, clearly. Um so I like those types of games that really kind of inspire that social aspect, and I like a lot of in-person gaming, but I've done a lot of things online as well. So I like that it can create a bit of a community. I like that it creates a conversation for the students. What I really like more is that if they like the game, because I would use the cards as a reward system. I'd give them the cards.
mm,
I didn't tell them what the cards did. They went home and studied
yeah.
them themselves because they
Mm.
wanted to play the game. I said, "Oh, if you do good on the spelling test or whatever, then reward and we'll do games." So
Aw.
I kind of try to incorporate that within my lessons and everything because I feel like it extends from outside the classroom too into their daily lives and gives them kind of a real motivation for them where like kids I know parents want their kids to be X thing, right? But at the end of the
Right.
day, kids are kids and they want to have fun and they want to learn too. So when you combine those things in a constructive way, I feel like it really uh, drives the motivation for them without you having to hands off. You don't have to
Right.
do anything. So that's an area I think that I would hope I think there's kind of an area in your school for that. I have
Yeah.
some experience with music. I wouldn't say that I would go and teach it, but I like to have songs and everything incorporated in classroom. It's a great, getting involved in the media of whatever native language you're studying can be a real boon because again,
Yes.
that inspires you to really want to learn it.
Yes.
Um, what else could I say about myself? I like to I looked at a lot of the ways that you have your teaching philosophy, your ethos of your school, and I find that I kind of fall into a lot of those things already. Even though I was like, oh, is it that? Oh, okay, it's that thing. Having them find the lesson on their own, like setting these parameters for them, but letting them find their own way to learn those things.
Yeah.
I don't know how deep that goes. Like you talked about the students in the ESL classes, some of their levels are very low. So there's a lot of building there. There's a lot of building
Right.
blocks where we're not really going to
Yes.
give them. We're going to give them some of the pie, but not the whole piece at the beginning. But they'll eventually get there.
Yes, correct. So yes, we do use inquiry-based teaching and learning. I've actually used this with students in the UAE that had zero English skills. Quite honestly, it actually helps them because I was not allowed to, my students did not have any EAL classes. I had to teach them grade level science and grade level English without any EAL support. It was awful. But it, what I would do is I would prepare resources that were at their level that they could then access what I was trying to do. So, I had different stations that they could go to, and maybe it was pictures or it was, matching the pictures with the vocabulary. And inquiry actually helps, I think, with EAL because then they can do research on their own and come back to me with the answers, and that research could be in their native language.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
and then
Sure.
having them partnered up with somebody that also is stronger in English gave them the support to help them to say what they learned in the English language. I love inquiry because it does put the learning in the hands of the students. I hate lecture-based teaching and learning. We are an AP school, so AP is still very much lecture-based. Take notes, take an exam, move on to the next thing, take notes, take an exam, move on, take an exam at the end of the year. And are you going to really use that learning? Are you going to actually remember that learning? Probably not. Most of us don't.
It's
I
the
did
breath
very
that
well in
gets you to the
school.
next one, right?
Right, right. I did very well in school all the way through my master's degree. I graduated with honors. But if I look back, did I learn a lot? No. If I want to know something about history, or if I have a question that I don't know the answer to, I'm going to go to Google. We all are. Students are. So the content is not as important as the skills. The skills to use the content that students are learning is far more valuable than content, because content is at the tip of our fingers right now. It's teaching them how to find the content.
Mm.
It's teaching them to know that when you do a Google search, you might get fake information, and how do you disseminate between the real information and the fake information? And then how do you use that to apply it to a real world situation, or to a problem you're trying to solve, or to a question you're trying to answer? So education, especially within international schools, is completely shifting. You have IB, which is where I get most of my teaching and learning style from. I was doing it before IB, I didn't realize it, and then I went to an IB school and I went, oh yeah, I already do this. Um,
That's
when
what I'm
students are in
slowly
charge of their
realizing.
yeah, when students are in charge of their learning and they're able to learn in the way that best meets their needs, they're going to get far more out of your class than if you stand and lecture and you tell
Yeah.
all of them the same thing in the same way. So you can differentiate, you can use visuals, you can use auditory, you can use hands-on learning, to hit all the different learning modalities. But realistically, the student has to have the skills to know what their learning style is and how they can learn it the best. Um, all of our assessments, our summatives, are performance based. So they're not just, multiple choice, true, false,
Okay.
short answer. They are based on use the skills you learn, the content you learn to solve a problem. Show me how you can make a roller coaster out of paper, and using all of these different parameters, you make it, right? And then you
Right.
test it, and then you redesign it, because you had it. We use a marble to test it. Something got stuck. It got stuck here. How can I change that design, so that it will get all the way to the bottom? Those types of projects and those types of assessments are what we do at our school, because, in my opinion, it is much more valuable than taking a written test with multiple choice questions, true, false, short answer, where the students are just kind of telling you information and not using information.
I can relate. I think I've had some examples of that within my teaching career where I taught a journalism class actually on a weekend in Qingdao once, and we just taught the students the tenements of journalism, right? So they're supposed to take that knowledge and apply it, right? Just like you're saying, and I think about that. Maybe it kind of relates to my academic writing class. Like, these are medical students; they know what to do, but we're just giving them the guide. Here, follow these parameters. Your research paper is your own, right? So,
Right. Yeah.
I've employed those teaching methods, and I like that teaching style quite a bit.
Perfect. Um, in terms of Magic the Gathering, that probably would not be accepted by the Chinese culture. They might feel
I
that it's
I know that Magic does exist in China, but I know some cards, the digital form will have alternate art versions of them.
okay. Yeah, so it might be something that before you would use it, you would just have to check with some of our social
Sure.
studies teachers to see, like, do you think the parents would be okay with this? Or even check with our PSA to just say, do you think our parents would be okay with this?
Well, at the end of the day, too, I could just completely create my own set of cards with my own
There you
artwork
go.
in it, and then we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah,
So that's
perfect.
that's just as long as we're
They're
using the
really into,
gaming system, right? Like
yeah.
that's what we're doing.
Yeah, they're really into Pokemon,
Oh,
some of
really?
them.
Okay. Well,
My son is still very much into Pokemon. We will be on vacation. He'll be on his phone. I'm like, "What? Are you playing Pokemon Go?" And he's like, "Yeah, there's so many Pokemon around here." And I'm like, "Okay, that's cool. Can we move on with our life now and enjoy
well,
vacation? Stop catching Pokemon, please."
you can't. You got to catch them all. That's how it goes.
It's true. It's just funny to watch him because we'll
Is it
be in
wild?
Italy or whatever.
Did you grow
Huh?
up in the demographic too when Pokemon was popular? You were around because my little brother grew up
Uh,
when it was popular, so I knew all the
my
Pokemon.
Yeah, my son grew up when it was popular, and then they came out with Pokemon Go when he's an adult, and so I
Wow.
have other adult friends who also play Pokemon Go, so it is what it
I
is.
played it at one point, but I when it was first starting out, I gave it a try, and I was in a remote area, so I was the only one by the gym, so I got to run the gym for a while.
That's funny.
Yeah, right. Because
Obviously,
obviously
Magic
it
the
doesn't.
Gathering. Yeah, obviously, Magic the Gathering has like way more that goes into it than like a Pokemon
It's
game.
an that's an involving that's what I like about the game because it really uses some extensive vocabulary that students just aren't normally exposed to, and then when they read it and understand it, and then when it incidentally comes up in their curriculum, they know,
Yeah,
right? It's kind of
yeah,
nice. It's an
yeah,
epiphany for them. So I like that
yeah.
aspect. I like that with you can so many games you can slot that aspect into,
Definitely.
right?
Yeah. Our EAL teacher uses a lot of different games. So there's one here. So it's about the different logos and talking about
Okay,
different
interesting.
logos.
Oh,
Um,
I haven't seen that
anyway,
one. Cool.
she uses a lot of games and different things in her classroom. Because when kids are having fun, they are going to learn and pick up English a lot faster than
Mm,
they're just, again, standing and lecturing at them. And so she uses tons of games in her classroom. I love it. She just ordered a bunch for everybody. So
cool.
they use them in the dorms too. So we have 10 dorm students at this point. Our dorms opened last year. And so they use a lot of games over in the dorms as well. Dorms are not required as part of the teaching contract there. It's run by a completely separate staff. So I do have another English teacher who is huge into mass media, who you guys would probably just absolutely hit it off.
Cool.
Um, we are working on a multimedia room currently.
Awesome.
However, the head of school is currently reluctant to do that because his worry is that we have teachers now who are really into this. What about when those teachers leave if we don't have teachers that want to continue on with
The
running the
equipment, right?
multimedia room?
Yeah, sure.
So then it's just we spent all this money and now there's a room that nobody's using. So that's his worry right now. I'm trying to still convince him. So the multimedia room would be used for TV production, podcasting, and photography at this
Okay.
point. Um,
I've done chemical photography. I'm a bit of a I'd say I'm a fairly skilled photographer.
nice. Yeah, we
Yeah.
have our new social studies teacher this year also is pretty good at photography.
Awesome.
So again, I've got some people who are really into things, and the head of school just needs some convincing that we can hire more people that are into these things too.
Mm. I think a good workaround for the media, at least if I'm going to start a class, would be maybe focus on, a not just a journalism class, but a journalism and social media where you apply the ethics of
Yeah,
journalism to your own social media to kind of govern, you know, how you act in that setting, right? Because that's probably
yeah,
pretty important for young people these days, I would imagine.
yes,
And
yes,
then looking at producing, content or media or journalist pieces that were are slotting into how the world relates to them around them. So that's kind
yeah.
of what I envision if we were starting. But boy, a TV studio sounds great, and I have lots of experience with that too. So I took TV production, radio production. I'm well versed in these things.
Yeah. And kind of the idea is that the students start running some of their own social media, you know, why can't I use words today? Accounts for the school. And so they're posting, things about the students and cool things that are happening on our campus and look at our ASAs.
Mm.
And um, I, he's a bit of an older gentleman.
It
And so it takes a little bit of time to be like, these are important. These are the now things that are happening. These are skills that students
it's the
need to
new
learn.
school newspaper. It's the new school
It
newspaper,
it
right?
really is.
It
Yeah.
is. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that they can put together a proposal that will convince him that we still need to do this. It's really not that much money, in my opinion, but it's not my
No,
money. So,
honestly, like I would guess that you could put together probably What could I put together? I don't know. 4,000 times. I don't know. Maybe like with like $30,000, you could put together like 4 or 5 workstations easily.
Yeah, well, the first part of it was
Is the
just for photography, and it was only $1,000,
Oh
and he said
really?
it
That
was
was
too
it?
much. So,
That's a good one.
uh, yeah. So 30,000, he definitely would
Well,
absolutely say no
that's
to.
like that's those are like decked out laptop
Yeah,
gaming PCs in my mind. I'm like, oh, we'll make it a mobile station, move around from
yeah,
studio to studio. I like to. I'm working right now out of my own home studio here. This is my own home. You see my
nice.
whatever, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
So I'm running off of a gaming laptop, and we're running 6 monitors here, right, and a studio that can do recordings and things like that. So yeah, if I end up on board, let me know. I got lots of great suggestions.
perfect. Thank you. I will talk about the benefits. Salary is on a salary scale that would be shared by HR. It's based on your years of experience, up to 9 years, if I remember correctly. I feel like we have a pretty good benefits package. We give a monthly stipend for housing, which is 6,500 RMB, $950 roughly. And everybody finds that more than adequate to find a nice apartment. There's a lot of brand new apartments near the school. There's a wetlands park that's very close that has a bike path and a walking path and
Oh,
beaches.
can I ask you, are there
Um,
any nearby mountains at all?
the mountains, there are some mountains that are close. There's
Mm-hmm.
actually a trail that goes through the mountains.
Mm.
So it goes from one side of the island to the other side of the islands, and
Oh,
you're actually walking through the treetops. It's absolutely
okay.
beautiful.
I love mountains.
Um, yeah. So the they're probably 45-minute drive away. I would say if you want to go hiking through the mountains, 30 to 45 minutes, very close. There's some beautiful mountains that have waterfalls. They have little ponds or lakes around them. Yeah, there's a lot of outdoor things that are within an hour, I would say.
Um, I will say this is another this is a out there extracurricular activity, and I believe this would need a lot of approval. But I have a dog. She's trained really well. I'm going to come with my dog, but she's trained well enough where if you wanted to offer very small English dog walking classes, the kids could take that.
Aw,
We could, yeah. Oh, she's good. She's great with everybody. She's great with kids.
yeah.
So like, I don't know if that's a thing, but I just wanted to say it because like
Um,
she's the best.
a lot of Chinese people are actually afraid of dogs. Um, that said, there's tons of dogs around, and
Mm,
most of the staff has dogs.
mm.
But for whatever reason, it's just a thing that a lot of Chinese people are afraid of dogs.
All right.
I was actually considering getting a puppy, and then I was like, I work so many hours. I don't want my dog at home all day long.
Sure.
Can I bring my dog to work? But really, I can't bring my dog to work because then
Mm.
everybody would be able to bring their dog to work.
I'll come too.
So I was just like, but he's so little, he could just stay in my office.
Mm.
Um,
What does the
so
typical
some of
workday
the
look like?
so teachers arrive at by 8 o'clock. Classes start at 8:30. Classes are out at 3:30. After 3:30, we have after school activities that go from 3:30 to 4:30. Teachers are required to do 2 out of our 3 ASA cycles. Those cycles are around 10 weeks each, and they're 1 day a week.
Okay, so one day a week you're there till like 4:30 running your after school
Correct.
program. Sounds fine.
Correct.
Yeah, it's probably that's
And
okay.
then other days you're out at 4, except for Wednesdays. Wednesdays are our professional development days, and we stay until 5.
Oh, okay, so Wednesday we have a meeting at until 5 p.m.
Until 5 p.m. Yeah. Yep.
Okay, all right.
Aside from that, we kind of mostly follow a traditional U.S. calendar. We start around mid-August. We get on around mid-June. We have a week for National Day, holiday, usually 2 or 3 weeks for Christmas. It just depends on how Chinese New Year falls on the calendar. And then Chinese New Year, 2 weeks, and then spring break 1 week. So we try to balance it out so there's not ever a long stretch of time where you're just teaching and without a holiday.
Is there a what is so what is the salary range for Can't discuss it at the moment.
Not off the top.
Fair enough.
No, 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 not off, I don't know it off the top of my
Oh,
head because
okay.
I'm on a different salary scale because
Okay.
I'm an administrator. So,
Sure.
uh,
I was going to ask something. Oh, is there a travel stipend? I've heard some schools
yes,
have a travel stipend.
yep. So we get $1,800 a year for travel. Most schools make you use it to go to your home country. We let you use travel for whatever you want to use it for travel. So train, plane, bus, doesn't matter where you're going as long as you have the receipts, official FAPIOs or official receipts from the travel. So you pay up front and then you get reimbursed.
Okay.
We have pretty good medical insurance. We have life
Mm.
insurance. We have a $1,000 a year PD budget that you can use for, if you want to look at going into leadership, you want to use it towards that. If you want to look at a workshop that's based on your ASA or what you're teaching, you can use it for that. As long as it's not something like, I want to use it to go to Bali because they're having this awesome PD on monkeys.
I'm sorry, I don't know what PD stands for. Would you please tell me?
Uh, prof- Professional
Professional
development.
development. Okay, so that I'm thinking. I will be honest with you. I think if I am using my professional development budget, I'd probably be looking at just knocking out a master's degree in education, just because I don't have one, but I kind of have
Yeah,
one. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's probably where I'm going to put that. I can tell you
Yeah,
that.
and we definitely would
Great.
support that as well.
Awesome. Awesome.
Any other questions about Shaman, China, the school, the kids,
I'm, I,
myself?
I might have some more, but I can't think of any at the moment. Perhaps I can email you some, and I'm sure we'll be in contact. I know you said you had some other interviews coming up, and we're going to keep this one short, so I don't want to keep you too long.
No, you're okay. And then if we can just kind of get into the meat of why we're here, can
Oh,
you kind of tell me about your ESL teaching and walk me through how you have seen the best way to support growth and achievement and moving them through the English to get them close to grade level? Like what
hmm.
strategies would you use besides, I mean, obviously we've talked a little bit about, some of the games and things that you do.
Well, let's see here. So, I guess my career in ESL started out like 20 years ago. So, I taught in Korea for a long time at the elementary school level, in Seoul for about 12 years.
Yeah.
And then after that, I moved into the university sector. And in between that, there's some other stuff. Like I did private businesses. I don't know if you're familiar with the company called Microchip. They make microchips. Anyway, they're a U.S. company, but they have locations around the world. I was their in-house instructor. But as far as when it comes to moving the students into their proper level of education through ESL, most of I think the tale that best relates to that is actually my university course that I taught for English in the workplace. A lot of those
Okay.
students were IT professional or just studying to become IT professionals. Like
Yeah.
they have a good like foundation of the vocabulary, but they weren't like most of the medical students who were near fluency, right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
to help them get there, by the way, the book that their department chose the book and it was horrible. Worst,
Uh,
not a great. But you want to talk about something going wrong? No one who taught
yeah.
this class liked the book. They were like, "This is bad." It had spelling mistakes, misprints. We were like, "We're not going to use this." So we had to use
Aw.
it, right? But to
Mm.
supplement it, I made it a career building and a resume workshop for them, and that kind
Okay.
of gave them the ability to kind of like express what they wanted to get out of things. But also, we had to do the English in the workplace stuff, and that's being able to
Yeah.
have a conversation with an English workplace and being able to talk about the terminology that you might be. Simple things like even like I went to the kitchen and I got a cookie or whatever,
Yeah.
right? This was the
Yeah.
level that they were at. But if they were going to work in the workplace, this was going to be an issue. It's the same thing that I did at Microchip. I taught all those professionals. They had a lot of anxiety about interacting with their superiors when they travel abroad, right? In English.
Yeah.
These students at the university level, what I like to use, and this is, I guess I've used games again. Are you familiar with the game Among Us?
Yes.
Okay, what's great about Among Us is when you're on the space station, it's got all the same rooms as an office. And some of the
Right.
same tasks. I took out the garbage. But then there's the fun aspect
Yeah.
of someone got murdered, right? Uh, so,
Yes.
so, so I found that was a really nice creative way for them to flex their muscle, and that's what I like to for them to be able to do is actually use those things in what might be a real world setting, because that's what we're preparing them for. So I'm
Okay.
trying to do my best to like simulate that, and that's an example of how I did that in that setting.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
and then I'd say at the elementary level, once again, I'm just going to refer to my the magic club that I held. Like
Yeah.
that really boosted those students, and boosted their studies too. Like I saw all their spelling test scores go up. I saw good
Yeah.
like because they studied because they wanted to get the magic card from the words, but then they studied, they
Yeah.
read better, and they read the cards. It was a nice vicious cycle, if you will. It really fed into
Right.
itself. So
Okay.
I think those are two decent examples of that.
Of course. Um, okay, so it was great to meet you. And I do have another meeting. If we decide, so I'm assuming that you would like to have a second interview. You feel like this would be a good fit, the school would be a good fit for you and your teaching style, your experience.
Mm.
Okay, so I will have a conversation with my head of school, and Carrie will be reaching out to you, our HR manager, if we decide to move forward with the second interview.
Okay, thanks so
In
much,
the
Holly.
meantime, of course, in the meantime, if you have questions that you didn't ask and you forgot, you can just email me.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
All right,
nice to meet you, Eric.
nice to meet you too, Holly. Take care.
You too.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.